Hi, I'm Sandra Nomoto, also known as the Content Doctor, and today I'm going to do a video on 3 reasons why an author would hire an indexer. Now, if you're not sure what an indexer does or what an index even is, an index is the part of a book at the end that leads readers to certain topics, names of people, names of places, where they may be able to find those instances in the rest of the book. Now, is an index required for every nonfiction book? Absolutely not. But one way that self-published authors can stand out and compete with the rest of traditionally published books is by putting an index into their book. Now, reason number 1 why authors would hire an indexer is because indexes need to be formatted in a specific way. All indexes are compiled alphabetically. But did you know that there are different ways of alphabetizing? So there's the word by word method and there's the letter by letter method, which is personally my favorite. I'm not going to go into those different types of alphabetization here in this video, but another thing that you should know about how indexes are formatted is there are 2 ways of formatting. So there's the indented version, which is most common, and that means that the main entries of an index are flush left and the sub entries underneath that main entry are indented, and that is the most common that I see and the most aesthetically pleasing. The other way of formatting is called run-in, and this is the style that the Chicago Manual adheres to, and all sub-entries in the run-in style are not separated with a line and indented. Instead, they're just separated by semicolons after the page number. Indexers also have to know how to cross-reference. So for example, if there are 2 terms that are very similar, for example, cars and vehicles, you might not want to put all of the page numbers for each of those. So you might want to just list vehicles and then have another entry for cars, but use a C reference to say C vehicles so that the reader goes under vehicles and can look at the page numbers there. Another formatting element to consider is whether the index is going to be 2 columns or 3 columns. Now, 2 columns may look more aesthetically pleasing, but 3 columns will save a lot more space. So indexes typically are only 3 to 5% of the total of the book pages, and most indexes that I come across are only 2% of the book. You don't want to have a super long index because the reader will get overwhelmed, and so you really want to make sure that your index is nice and succinct. Again, 3 to 5% of the book, and if you need to do 3 column indexes to make that happen, then that's probably a good idea. The second reason why self-published authors might want to hire an indexer is that authors can also learn to index their own books, but it takes time. There's software out there that can help you do some of the things that I described, like the alphabetization. However, that software can be really expensive, and you still have to take the output of what the software does and put it into your manuscript in Microsoft Word. So you're almost doing double duty. There is a way to index in Microsoft Word, which is what most manuscripts are already in anyway. And there are 2 ways to index using Microsoft Word. So you could create a concordance file, which is a separate Microsoft Word file where you list all of your entries, sub-entries, and cross-references. The way that I like to index in Microsoft Word is manually. So going page by page and tagging each term, name, or phrase that is supposed to go into the index. When I've gone through the entire book, at the very end, you can insert the index after the book text. And then from there, you're not finished. So there are some manual changes that you may need to make. So for example, if a term or a topic spans over a number of pages, so 70, 71, 72, you're not going to list all of those page numbers because you're going to waste a lot of space. So you would just say 70 to 73 using an N dash in between those numbers. Other manual changes include inserting an entry twice if it runs over a second page, just so that your reader knows where you are. And that's reason number 2. Authors can learn how to do it themselves, but it's a lot of work, like I said. Reason number 3 is that an index must be done last after formatting. So for self-published books, you need to have your manuscript formatted so that all of the page numbers that are in the index are referencing back to the correct page number. You can't do your index at any other time in the process because if you change text and it changes all of the page numbers, that index would need to be redone again. And that's another way that you'll waste time. So if you're hiring an indexer, make sure that you trust them wholly with your formatted manuscript so that the index is as accurate as possible and formatted according to what the manuscript already looks like before it gets printed. So to recap those reasons, number one, indexes need to be formatted in a specific way and indexers know how to do that. Number two, authors can learn how to index themselves, but it takes time to learn. And number three, indexes must be done last after the book is formatted. If you have any other questions about self-publishing and the services that go along with that, feel free to send me a DM on social media or visit my website, thecontentdoctor.co.